Good morning, noon, evening or night, depending when you're watching this video. My name's Legend and welcome back to World of Tanks and the NBTT'ay Replay series, where we, as always, feature the best replay from the NBTT clan for each patch. And today it is once again TobieThomas. We see him before in this series, but in a tank we haven't seen before in this series, the Astron Rex, the tier 8 premium auto-loading American medium tank. It's a whole mouthful, and he plays on Fjords in a tier 9 match. So he goes towards the middle, gets a little bit blocked by the heavy tanks, and then he immediately realizes how many of the enemy tanks have already occupied the middle of the map. So he changes his mind and goes towards a completely other flank. Very good decision right there, because even though he can still dish out a bit of damage against pretty much all of the top tier mediums, it is still not going to be enough. So while he is driving towards the other flank, let's talk a little bit about the damage, the potential damage output this tank can give. With its 5-clip autoloader unleashing a shell every 2 seconds, this thing can burst out 1600 damage in 8 seconds. That's a lot of damage in a short amount of time, and it has a bit of the same trend that Wargaming likes to put in premium or reward vehicles these days. Lots of burst damage in a short time and then an extremely long reload. We see this happening. Well, it started kind of with the Borask, with the 2-shot autoloader, but we definitely see this with the British GSOR 1008 and the Cobra. And it kind of fits the meta a bit, just high performance for a short amount of time and then hiding back for that long reload. So also the Astron Rex, of course, with this amount of burst damage, does have a rather long reload in order to keep that DPM a little bit low, because autoloaders with high DPM would be the most broken thing in World of Tanks, unless they compensated with a lot of weak spots like the T-57 Heavy. But back towards the battle. In the meantime, TobieThomas is scouting down this particular flank, but well, it looks like most of the enemies were occupying the middle and still have all their attention towards the middle and the bottom of the Fjords map. So he is right now patiently waiting until, well, don't you look at that, an hidden Scorpion G. That tank was spotted before, so it was kind of predictable that he was going to appear at some point. But a great example of being very patient, not rushing too far and waiting until he was able to get his first kill. And immediately retreating in order to get a full reload. Even though he still had 3 more rounds, it is a very good thing not to always fire all your rounds in your clip, especially when it means that you stay in the open, quite vulnerable, because this tank doesn't have the most armor. So now Tobie sees once again no opportunities anymore to push further into that SU and goes back in order to defend his cap, but then he immediately turns around when the projectile is spotted. A great opportunity right here to kill off this isolated target. Even though one of his teammates finishes him off, it was a great response of Tobie here to immediately redirect his attention for a short bit before returning once again back towards his base, where the biggest threat of the enemy team is currently at. Unfortunately, not quite able to get a reload onto that Black Dog, but now he can unleash his burst damage onto that TVP, which, well, that TVP also got a rather quick reload, but not enough in order to get multiple shots in. And once again he decides to reload with still 2 rounds into his magazine, and noticing that he doesn't have enough regular shells left to fill up an entire magazine, he switches towards his 20 premium rounds. And you see him making this decision quite a lot. When the clip is still not completely empty, he is already reloading in order to get a full clip on during some downtime when he almost knows for sure that there's no more enemy tanks being a direct threat. And with that full reload he could still get a extra shot in, even though it still misses. That's not the point. So once again reload, knowing that he isn't going to fire at enemy tanks for a little while longer. But this time the enemies are within the complete reload at the location. So TobieThomas does something very remarkable right now. He rushes in while he's still reloaded, and he is able to reload just in time in order to get the SU right there, and also has enough shells left to finish off the artillery. But during that carnage, his last teammates are eliminated before he can finish off the SU, making this a 1 versus 5 scenario. So Tobie is contesting here for a Kolobanov's medal. But no time to delve on that, because he has fired all his shells off his magazine right now. He's immediately fleeing the scene from the AT-15. But then, plot twist, the Indian Panzer is right now, and he has still got a long time to reload. So how does this encounter go? Tobie shows here the perfect example what to do when you are caught out during your long reload, and that is hide behind solid cover. Even though he's not the fastest mediums, he's still a medium, got some maneuverability, and he judges at least one shell of the Indian Panzer, is reloaded now, bounces a shell from the Indian Panzer and destroys him, and immediately flees further, and also reloading once again. Because again, he is currently not under a direct threat of an enemy tank, so he got some downtime in order to reload. And after this reload he peeks once again to see the enemies approaching, but he does a bit of a misplay right here. He switches target from the T-30, who's now a one shot, towards the STRVK, and because he wants to get an extra shot in, he is in the open for a longer time, and the T-30 luckily barely misses him. But that was a very risky play where he probably should have died if the T-30 took his time to aim his shot. But Tobie is still living for now, so what does he do? Does he somewhat redeem himself for that little misplay? Well, I say little misplay that could have been very well the end of the battle. He immediately redeems himself with that misplay by exercising a very skillful tactic, and that is getting into a ambush location. And this way he is able to catch out and destroy the STRVK. But unfortunately he didn't kill the T-30, so that means that there are still 2 enemies left. And now he plays a little bit more careful, and during his reload he is trying to overview the situation in order to decide which tactic is the best to take next. And that's another advantage which you can seek in a long reload, is during the time that you're reloading. You're not fully engaging into enemy combat, so that gives you time and attention in order to analyze the bigger picture. Map awareness, situational awareness, you can be more attentive to those things, and that way you can make your next decision a bit more thoughtful. So he drives back towards the middle and spots the AT-15, who probably saw him knocking over that tree, but he doesn't know where he is exactly at, and he's still able to get one shot in and immediately retreats, not wanting to be staying in that location since the T-30 can still outflank him at any moment right now, and he wants to bait the AT-15 in a false sense of security. So right now he is looking once again for an ambush location, and he is deciding to pick his previous location once again. So driving towards his previous location, plot twist, the T-30 was there, but luckily now he catches him quickly enough. Once again, some quite rapid reflexes, being able to fire at the T-30 before he could fire back. And now he's once again at his ambush location, having it fully for himself, And now he's able to get once again a clean shot into the AT-50, but he wants to get now solid bush cover, learning from his mistakes from earlier, but that way he isn't really able to get a shot off that quickly. And one aiming, he misses one shot, and after that the AT-15 disappears, now being too big of a risk get caught by the AT-15, since he is now close enough to spot him as well through the bushes. He once again retreats and reload once again. Now this reload only gives him one extra shell, but it will be apparent soon enough that you always have to do this. One extra shell in your magazine is always one extra chance you get to kill off the enemy tank. But will it pay off? Will he not being caught right now during this time like the Indian Panzer did to him earlier? By the looks of it, not, and he returns towards the last known location of the AT-15. Final engagement right here. He tries to aim for his weak spot, hits one shell, making the AT-15 one shot. He fires his second shell and misses that, but he got one more chance left. Because of that reload, now having 3 shells in his clip instead of 2, he still got one more chance left, and there peaks the weak spot of the AT-15 once again, and this time it connects. Really, that last reload on that clip was the game changer, making this victory an absolute certainty. So with that victory, TobieThomas was able to get the one, the only, the Kolobanov's medal, alongside with the Leviados medal, high caliber and Top Gun for 7 kills, and of course an ace tanker for the 6,000 damage, alongside with a whopping 1923 base experience in his tier 8 medium tank. But even with a premium account, he wasn't able to make a profit firing all of his premium shells and using all of his premium consumables. But an absolutely amazing played game right here, and deserved Kolobanov's medal. We saw exactly how you play this tank and how you play around that incredibly long reload. It was also at the very beginning that he repositions towards a different flank when he recognized that the current flank he was at wasn't really contestable with that many top tier tanks occupying it. Also at the approach from the hills, he didn't go further because he could have get shot at by these still invisible tank destroyers. So a lot of restraint, a good map and situational awareness, but that only got boosted by the amount of times he decided to reload his clip. With 2 shells and even with 3 shells at some point, he decided to reload at the exact good timing in order to get a full magazine before he went in action once again. And when the only time that the timing was just a little bit off, he was still able to play around it by just rushing in and destroying the tanks shortly after his reload was done. But after that he was caught relatively shortly after he started reloading, so he once again used some great tactics in order to avoid damage from the enemy tank, the Indian Panzer, as long as possible, and still being able to reload his clip and destroy him. And lastly, occupying some ambush locations in order to catch out several enemy tanks, dishing out enough damage in order to kill them one by one. With only one mistake, being a bit too greedy and ignoring the one shot that the T-30 currently was. So hopefully by watching this video and reviewing this battle, you get a little bit more insight on how to play your auto-loading tanks with a long reload. I certainly did learn a few things from this battle. And with that, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you next time. Laters!